That I hear in the distance, it's an urgent message. Urgent message. Joe Biden chooses Kamala Harris. The drum. It's the drum. I hear
What
the
time
drum.
is it? Say it's time for KP's Video News.
The drum beats the message.
KP's Video News. It's KP's Video News, y'all. It's KP's Video News, y'all.
All right, y'all.
KP's Video.
KP's Video News, y'all. Urgent message. Urgent message. Joe Biden chooses Kamala Harris as his running mate for vice president. That's right. Joe Biden chooses Kamala Harris as his running mate for vice president. Congratulations to Kamala Harris there. I'll get into my whatever later. Okay, Joe Biden has chosen Kamala Harris, the prominent senator from California, whose political career has included many barrier-breaking moments, as running mate. His campaign announced today. The decision comes more than a year after Harris, who was also a 2020 Democratic candidate, clashed with Biden over racial issues during their first primary debate. If elected, she would be the nation's first female, first black, and first Asian American vice president. Picking Harris, who is 55 years old, provides the ticket with some great generational diversity. Biden, 77, would be the oldest president-elect in U.S. history, and the announcement from Biden's camp caps weeks of speculation and Biden's biggest decision to date as a presumptive Democratic nominee, a detail Biden himself noted in his announcement. You make a lot of important decisions as president, but the first one you need to be able to select your vice president. I've decided that Kamala Harris is the best person to help me take this fight to Donald Trump and Mike Pence and to lead this nation starting in January 2021. Biden wrote in an email from his campaign to supporters. It says, I need someone working alongside me who is smart, tough, and ready to lead. Kamala is that person, Biden wrote. I need someone who understands the pain that so many people in our nation are suffering, whether they've lost their jobs, their businesses, or loved one to this virus. The president says he doesn't want to be distracted by it. He doesn't understand that taking care of people of this nation, all the people, isn't a distraction. It's a job, Biden continued. Kamala understands that. I need someone who understands that we are in a battle for the soul of this nation, and that if we're going to get through these crises, we need to come together and unite for a better America. And Biden and Harris will appear together and speak in Biden's hometown of Wilmington, Delaware on Wednesday, the campaign said. Harris, the only black woman in the U.S. Senate, was elected in 2016 after serving as California's Attorney General and, before that, San Francisco District Attorney, a native of Oakland, California, and the child of Jamaican and Indian immigrants. Harris has said she was inspired to attend law after joining civil rights protests with her parents. She's a fighter and a principal leader, and I know because I've seen her up close, and I've seen her in the trenches, Biden said of Harris at a virtual fundraiser in June. As Attorney General, Harris worked closely with Biden's late son, Beau Biden, when he was Delaware's Attorney General, particularly in challenging big banks in the wake of a housing crisis. In her book, The Truth We Hold, An American Journey, Harris says the pair talk every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And because of their friendship, Harris's attack on Biden during the first Democratic primary debate for his record on busing and working with segregationists came as a shock to Biden's campaign, his family, and the candidate himself. I was prepared for them to come after me, but I wasn't prepared for the person coming at me the way she came at me. She knew Beau, she knows me, Biden said in an interview later that summer. He said Harris had mischaracterized his position. The surprise and backlash of that debate moment in Miami was still top of mind for Biden's wife, Jill, as recently as March. Jill, Biden said in a virtual fundraiser, our son both spoke so highly of her, and and how great she was, and not that she isn't. I'm not saying that, but it was just like a punch in the gut. It was a little unexpected. Both Biden and Harris allies have acknowledged that in the months after she left the race, Harris has given her full support to Biden campaign, and she has often campaigned virtually for Biden, holding joint fundraisers with the candidate and roundtables around issues like the racial disparities in coronavirus cases and protecting the Affordable Care Act. In June, in a virtual fundraiser, she raised $3.5 million for the campaign. Harris has praised was praised for her pointed questioning of Attorney General Bill Barr and Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh during their respective confirmation hearings, highlighting her record as a prosecutor. But her record as a prosecutor, especially on issues like marijuana convictions and truancy, has been a source of criticism, especially from younger, more progressive voters. Harris has faced pushback in recent weeks from some Biden allies who said the former presidential candidate is too ambitious, and criticism that many were quick to point out was sexist. Our campaign is full of ambitious women going all out for Joe Biden. Biden's campaign manager, Jen Dillon, said in a tweet, whoever he chooses from the very qualified options to help him win and unite the country, she'll be one too. Harris responded during the virtual conference with Black Girls Rock earlier this month. There will be resistance to your ambition, she said. There will be people who will say to you, you're out of your lane, don't let that burden you. Harris entered the presidential bid in December, dogged by fundraising problems and reports of power struggles in the top leadership of her campaign. Throughout the pandemic, Harris has been living in her Washington apartment with her husband Douglas, and entertainment lawyer. She attended Howard University for her undergraduate degree and was a Capitol Hill intern in the same office she occupies today. So as a sidebar, this is just my personal opinion. I mean, it's Joe Biden's decision, it's his choice. My personal choice would have been Susan Rice, for the simple fact that she was an extremely high rated and high ranked diplomat under the Obama administration, and therefore she would have been able to really truly help get our allies back, because Trump has alienated all of our allies in Europe, Canada, Mexico, and all over the world. So we need somebody that's diplomatic, and I really do believe that Rice is more diplomatic than Kamala Harris. But having said that, I would have said that Kamala Harris would have made an amazing Attorney General, filling in, taking over that job from Barr, because Barr is definitely going to get fired immediately for the idiots and stupid stuff that he's done. And that's the end of my sidebar on that. Having said that, that's my personal opinion. Congratulations to Kamala Harris, and hopefully Biden will choose some of the other women that were on the list to be part of his cabinet. And we have a demand for freedom for Tiana Arata, a Black Lives Matter a protest organizer, and people in social media are speaking out in favor of the release of the California-based Black Lives Matter organizer Tiana Arata, who was arrested after a protest in July and is now facing serious charges after a protest last Friday. The hashtag Free Tiana went viral on Twitter as users attempted to bring attention to the case. Arata was arrested by California San Luis Obispo Police Department after a protest she organized resulted in vandalism, according to the statement released by the San Luis Obispo Police Department. The police chief contacted the 20-year-old Arata prior to the protest to ensure that it would be peaceful. Police said that the protest, which began in Mitchell Park, turned into a march of about 300 people that blocked Highway 101, stopping traffic for nearly an hour. They reported that a passenger vehicle was damaged and its rear window smashed, with glass shattering onto a 4-year-old passenger that was in the back seat. After the demonstration had concluded and protesters began to leave, the police arrested Arata, and in a video of her arrest, several officers were seen forcing her into a police car. Now, after a 2-week investigation of the incident, the police department is requesting that the San Luis Obispo County District Attorney's Office file 5 felony charges, 4 felony counts of false imprisonment, and 1 felony count of conspiracy, and 3 misdemeanor charges resisting or obstructing a peace officer, inciting a riot, and unlawful assembly against her. Many protesters disagree with police targeting Arata and holding her legally responsible for the actions of all the demonstrators, in a move that could result in her facing up to 15 years in prison. Some claim that Arata is facing punishment simply for being an organizer. There was no riot, a woman said that was there and that identifies herself as Arata's best friend, said it was a beautiful, peaceful protest filled with black and brown people and other people also, and the police used excessive force. Tiana could barely keep up with 6 grown men forcing her into the car and basically kidnapping her and putting her in the police car, taking her away. And it's really, really crazy, man. And she just turned 20 years old. Just turned 20 years old, and they're talking about locking her up, blaming her for what happened at the protest. She was the organizer of the protest. However, whatever direction it took after the police got there and basically started attacking people, that's the police. The police incited that situation, not the protesters. And so that's one of those little funny situations that you have to worry about. And military veterans, this is the next story. Military veterans say racism in the ranks often isn't camouflaged. And the national conversation about race includes the U.S. military. Defense Secretary Mark Esper has effectively banned the Confederate battle flag from bases and installations, but that's only part of the issue. In a 2019 survey by the Military Times, more than half of the people of color serving in uniform said they had personally witnessed white nationalism or racism in the military. According to the Defense Department, around 17% of U.S. troops identify themselves as black. And several former active duty service members of different races and religions were asked about their experiences. And Captain Mary Tobin, a 10-year Army veteran, said racism in the ranks often isn't camouflaged. And she says, as a black woman, I had to wonder, okay, is this happening because because I'm a woman, or is it happening because I'm black? And there's a study, as a student leader at West Point, Captain Tobin had to inspect cadets' rooms. You come in with a white glove, and of course, you check for dirt. And she quickly found a red flag, 2 white men who were roommates. I walked in, and there was a very large Confederate flag, she said. I saw the flag, and I looked at them, and they looked at me, and I could tell they were trying to get a reaction out of me. And that happened two more times. And finally, I had a discussion with them and told them how that felt for me as a black woman from the South coming into that room every inspection and seeing that flag. Now, nearly 2 decades later, the Confederate flag is no longer allowed at West Point, which it shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. And that just reminded her of the past, painful past. And said one example is the name of barracks, named after General Lee. She said, I lived in those barracks. Both General Dana Pitter said at West Point, there's Lee Barracks, there's Lee's Gate, there's Lee Road, there's Robert E. Lee Housing Area. Enough already. And just before Major General Pitter, a Bronze Star recipient, graduated in 1981, he overheard 2 fellow cadets call him the N-word. One of them ran after me and said, oh, Dan, I'm sorry. I said, what are you sorry for? I'm sorry for calling you the N-word. I was so shocked, and I thought, I can't believe that. And then I looked at both of them, took both of them aside and said, "We are 2 months from graduations and from West Point, and you still only see me as an N-word." Pitter went on to carry the nuclear launch code for President Clinton and command all U.S. forces in Iraq. Wow. So that guy went on. He went all the way through the ranks. A black guy. Correspondent Doothers asked, "It makes me wonder, well, what else are they saying when you're not around? And did you ever worry about that?" He said, "Not really," Pitter replied, "because any assumption is they probably did. We've got to work together if we're going to end this legacy of systematic racism, and it's going to take more than black people to do that. For the first time, African American officers lead the Air Force and West Point, but the photo taken last fall shows the lack of diversity among the military's top ranks. So the chances of me making a full bird colonel or general becomes less and less likely as I look at my competition and those who are making a selection. I really feel like there's no representation of me," said Captain George Bates. Captain Bates said he was passed over for a promotion early in his 27-year Air Force career and had more. "I had more work experience, time in service, education." They said my Caucasian competitor had struggled with Air Force fitness tests and was still promoted. And I was praised for how I handled the bad news, as if to say they thought I would be aggressive or disgruntled. And Captain Tobin faced a triggering moment when she said a white superior dressed her down with his hand on his gun and said, and I say, "Sir, would you please remove your hand from the trigger?" And he goes, "Why? Why are you afraid of my hands on the trigger?" He said, "It's because you're from the hood. Is that what you're used to? You're used to people shooting at you, but others believe that there has been a progress over the years," like retired Marine said, "I think that race is one of those things in the military gets right more than often than wrong." And Captain said, and so Pitter said, "Can we better a country? Yes, but America is worth fighting for and worth saving, and diversity makes us stronger," Tobin stated. And so right to this day, man, you still got that. However, I did a story a few weeks ago about a black man being promoted to be the head of the Air Force, 4-star general, head of the Air Force, over at the Pentagon right now, in charge, complete. There's nobody higher than him in charge of the Air Force. And we also have a person that's in charge of West Point, the West Point cadets over there, that's in charge. So we making progress, little progress here and there. We making some, but sometimes we moving backwards a little bit there too. So congratulations, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over there. Congratulations over that. And let's get this DC dunce out of there. Time to get Trump out. That's the only thing I'm worried about and trying to focus on right now. Getting that doggone Trump out of office.
What time is it? Say it's time for KP's Video News.
Time to hear the drum.